What's up, Internet? I'm CJ. Dreams, Part 2! So in the last video I talked about some dreams that I had that were similar to some of the dreams that were discussed in a video by Matthew Santoro called The 10 Most Common Dreams and Their Meanings, but I've decided that I'm not done talking about this. I'm going to tell you about the weirdest dreams that I personally have experienced. Those of you who are new here, this is a peek into my subconscious that you didn't ask for, but hey, stick around, you never know. Could be fun to find out how shitballs crazy I am. At some point in my life, I lived in Washington State. And one night I dreamed that there was nothing between my house and Seattle but open land. And not only that, but I could see Seattle from my front window. And Seattle was not having a good night. It was being ravaged by thousands of tornadoes, out of the bases of which crawled these giant kaiju-like hell beasts. Awesome. And the dream happened a long time ago, so some of the details have been lost, but I do remember being compelled to run towards the giant hell beasts and the screw-you-mile-an-hour winds to rescue some guy. I don't know, I think he was a scientist or something, who worked in a very tall building that was miraculously still standing when I got there. Yeah. Anyway, at some point, BS shows up, like he does sometimes, and we go to get the guy who is not only completely oblivious to the escalating situation, but insists that we leave him behind because his research is important. Apparently, the research had been going on for a while, and he was the last in a successive line of scientists who were trying to solve the problem. Yeah, okay, Lieutenant Dan, you go ahead and stay behind and die. For your ancestors, got it. Somehow the subject of our ride home got brought up because BS and I just automatically assumed that whatever car we had arrived in was immediately destroyed upon us entering the building, what with the still rampaging hell beasts. And the guy that we had come to rescue turned around and said, I shit you not, it's dangerous to go alone, take these, and handed us a couple of thumb drives. Now, I'm not exactly sure when that meme first showed up, but I'm fairly certain that I had not heard it at the point that I had this dream. That's a little weird. Anyway, so I take the thumb drives, because I guess I thought it was some sort of important research or whatever, and BS and I head downstairs. Now, the whole time that we've been in this building, there have been no tremors, no shattered windows, no power fluctuations, no sudden and immediate destruction by a kaiju. Seriously, it was like this building existed in a separate dimension from Seattle, which was still being rapidly destroyed around us. BS and I get down to the underground garage, and there are a fleet of cars that look like the love child of the Tron bikes and the cars from Minority Report. I hadn't seen Minority Report at that point, and I still haven't seen the new Tron. And there are no keys inside, but as it turns out, that doesn't matter because the thumb drives are the keys. That should be an actual thing that happens. I mean, really. Cars are just turning into mobile computers anyway. What happened next was like if you took Godzilla and mashed it up with that scene from 2012 where John Cusack drives the limo and seasoned it liberally with Fast and the Furious. It was pretty sick. I actually woke up pretty shortly after that. I have absolutely no idea what that dream was actually about. But there you go. My next dream was actually pretty complex and also super creepy. I actually remember trying to wake up from it. Like, drifting towards consciousness and trying to lasso that edge that sticks out and missing every damn time. It was kind of a cross between Supernatural and any movie with deadly booby traps, plus Cabin in the Woods meets the Resident Evil compound with shades of Criminal Minds and a few shakes of Texas Chainsaw Massacre mixed in for flavor. It was about 50 shades of fucked up. It starts off with a house. Looks like a normal house, 2-story manicured lawn in the middle of upper middle class suburbia. I'm not even sure why we were there in the first place, but I was in this huge black compensating for something pickup truck with my two best friends in the whole wide world, BS and Lovely, and also Sam and Dean were there. Yes, that Sam and Dean. Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural were in my dream. The characters, not the actors. That's a different dream, I'll tell you about it later. So we arrive, we go inside, and it's this big open space. Bigger than the outside of the house actually looked like, so TARDIS house, apparently. And there's nothing in there except for some filing cabinets off to the right. Dean goes in first, he moves halfway across the floor, which crumbles underneath him, and he falls down and dies. Yup. And Sam, big, giant, codependent lumberjack moose that he is, rushes to see if his brother's okay, and a bit more of the floor crumbles away, and he falls down, and he cracks his head against the side of it, also dead. Yeah, that's right. I had a dream with Sam and Dean in it, and they died in the first 5 minutes. So really we should have left after it turns out that Sam and Dean are the guys who died to prove the situation is serious, but for some reason I kept insisting that the filing cabinets were of the utmost importance. So BS and Lovely and I creep slowly across the floor to make sure that it's, freaking stable. And we get to the filing cabinets, and we end up just taking the drawers right out of the cabinets and then carrying them outside, where they promptly disappear, never to be seen or heard from again. Well, gosh, it's a good thing that Sam and Dean died for a righteous cause, right? And again, we should leave, but we end up going back inside, I think to drag Sam and Dean's corpses out of there, but really we could have just chucked some salt through and lit that bitch on fire. Hunter's funeral right there. But no. We go back in, and everything is different. For one thing, there's no gaping hole in the floor, but also the entire layout has changed into a regular suburban house, and there's a pretty thick layer of dust on everything. Guess they forgot to pay up their maid service. None of the light switches work, but whatever, it's the middle of the day, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Unless you're in a horror movie! The three of us start looking around because apparently we have the memory of goldfish. And I find a door leading to the basement, so I call everyone over because that's what you do in dreams. And horror movies. So in the basement is a long corridor about 8.5 feet wide, and it's lined with some chairs and some built-in benches and tables, and oh yes, each side of it is lined with these clear plexiglass lockers that are filled with rotting corpses. Super! Anyway, at the end of the hall is another room, separated from us by a couple of plexi double doors, and just before the end of the hall is another room off to one side, but we don't even make it 3/4 of the way down the hall before some automated voice comes on and starts rambling creepily about the doom of mankind and the inherent weakness of the human species, or something. And then, through the plexi doors at the end of the hall, this robo thing that looks like the top half of Will Robinson's robot, got it on with Gladys, slides into view, suspended from a track in the ceiling in the next room, and starts shooting at us. I dreamed that part in a loop, over and over and over. Like the season 4 episode of SG-1 gone horribly awry. And sometimes it was shooting lasers, and sometimes it was shooting bullets, and sometimes it was shooting some demon hybrid of both. But the plexiglass doors between us and it never broke. Didn't even get scratched, because dreams give a whole 2 fingers up to physics. Also, if the bullets/lasers/both hit you or grazed you, you would collapse in on yourself like one of your organs had just spontaneously sprouted a black hole. Nice. We died. A lot. Sometimes BS would die, and sometimes I would die, and sometimes Lovely would die, which is good for no one. Once all 3 of us died. Unpleasant. Finally, we all made it back upstairs due to a clever use of obstacles and the convenient fact that if you moved fast enough in a lateral direction, then the bullet/lasers/both would miss you. So we get back upstairs and we decide to get the hell out of there, but first to stop in the kitchen, cause goddamn. Running around in a creepy hallway filled with rotting corpses while some deranged robo-guard shoots black hole bullet/laser/both at you is some thirsty-ass work. BS grabs a bag of chips, and I grab a 12-pack of Coke from the fridge, which is miraculously still working and stocked, and we split. As we get to our giant black compensating for something American pickup truck, which BS insists on driving from the right front passenger seat, we look over and there's like 100 people in the window of the house next door, which doesn't seem physically possible, and they're all waving at us like they know us and saying things like, hey, are those the new neighbors? Maybe they're Sean's relatives. Maybe they're agents of the government. Which, what? I mean, I get the government thing. That place could definitely benefit from a federal freaking investigation, but who the hell is Sean? Now, who the hell would want to move into that place? Whatever, we get in the car and split. Except, we're missing Lovely, so fuck, now we gotta go back. We end up driving around a neighborhood with increasingly confusing and unnecessarily complicated turns for about an hour. And by the time we get there, the neighbors have come over to investigate, and they're like, hey, you're not government agents or new neighbors. You guys are trespassers or some shit. Because apparently, they're all a bunch of laid-back dudes. Bunch of neighbros, if you follow my meaning. And then they start talking about how 20 years ago, some guy named Sean, who apparently lived in this house, went fucking crazy as balls and murdered his entire family in some sort of ritual sacrifice to an ancient pan-galactic being. And I'm like, what the fuck, brain? I'd like to wake up now. But no. So then we have to explain what happened, and apparently Lovely stopped to use the bathroom, which, okay. And now the neighbors are looking at us like, we don't believe you. And I'm like, no, dude, I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, it's like someone dosed us with some extra strength trippers, but just don't take that chance. But fuck it, they take that chance. Here's where things get weird. It turns into an episode of Pokemon for a minute, because suddenly we all have animals that defy logic and description. And even more suddenly, there's this round fuchsia ball of cute Kirby-like death that goes from being able to fit in the lead neighbor's pocket to filling the 8-foot hallway, and it zooms down that hallway, apparently laughing in the face of the bullet/laser/both, hits the plexiglass doors which shatter, and then it eats the RoboGuard. But I guess it took more damage than we thought, because suddenly it's back down to pocket size, and the lead neighbor, who has done a personality 180 and is now the take charge lead action star, is running over and starts getting really emotional about how much damage that this little guy has taken. And I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that I cried in my sleep, because when I eventually woke up, there were little wet drops on my pillow. Anyway, after that, all the poke things disappear. And in the other room, there's not much except for another door at one end, and behind the door is a bunch of stairs leading up. Now, geographically speaking, we should probably be in the backyard by now, but we're not. We're just in another room, and in this room are about 39 skulls of varying size, all numbered 1 through 13, so small one, medium one, big one. And I'm moving through the room trying not to bump any of them, because shit, for all I know, they could be bombs. And randomly, I find this little felt pouch that's shaped like a penis. What? And then one of the new guys says, hey, let me see that. And I turn around all smug and I'm like, I knew you wanted a D. And I seriously think that's the only reason that pouch existed, because it disappeared 5 seconds later. And there were some other things that I don't really remember very well, but I do know that there was this garden-y area in the front yard that looked like someone had cleared out a circular section of the yard and filled it with beauty bark, except for these 6 smaller circles of green that had like plants and stuff. And I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that those were just camouflage for missile silos. And then I woke up, and it was new, and I felt gross. As for the dream about Jared and Jensen, okay, this is a little embarrassing. One time I dreamed that I met Jensen Ackles at a con, and we started talking about whatever, and we kept talking about whatever, and then he invited me up to his room to play around. I know where you think this is going. Well, you're wrong, because of the many things that my brain does to me that makes me wonder what the heck is going on up there, one of them is blocking X-rated dreams with actors who I know to be in a relationship. So, when I get up to his room, he opens the door to find that I am holding a tub with my Xbox and a bunch of co-op games, some of which don't really exist in the real world because my brain is more awesome than that. I ended up spending the rest of the dream playing video games with Jensen Ackles while Misha side seat gamed, and Jared hung around in the background in the kitchen, inquiring as to whether or not the rest of us wanted another sandwich. Thanks, Jared. By the way, those sandwiches were delicious. And that's the weirdness that is me. I actually have more weird dreams, but I think that's enough for just one video. I'll see you guys the next time I make a video. Or rather, you'll see me. I'm CJ, and I'm out.